On a daily basis, there's lots of things that you do, there's lots of people that you meet, there's lots of things that you try that may not work, but all of it over time compounds. And it's easy to look back on and see it compounding, but especially when you're starting out, it's hard to understand how that works. Our entire childhoods, we weren't getting ROI on things that we were doing or learning, but they were building habits within us that then made this easy.
You've built and probably made the majority of your money and whatnot through cold, outbound sales.
When I was in high school, I would sell Coca-Cola to people. The amount of Coke and chips that my friend and I sold to people was based on the amount of people that we asked. The same applies with messaging.
What kind of advice would you give to somebody who's just made a guarantee to somebody and worried that they won't be able to meet it?
It's important to plan it out. A mistake that lots of people make when they're first trying to sign clients is pretending that they've done it for 100 people. And then the other thing I found that's like a secret sauce is...
Alrighty fellas, today I got a special video. As you can tell, I'm in a little bit of a different location than I usually am. It's going to be a little bit of a longer video, so we're going to need a little bit of an attention span to get through this video. If you need to go jerk off right now, I would do so now and then come back to this, because I guarantee you the value that you get in this video will far exceed the time that you invest into it. That's because in this video, I'm bringing on who recently has become a very, very good friend of mine. He's 21 years old. He runs multi 7, not 6, 7-figure agency. But most importantly, you guys will realize real quick that he's just like us. He's a totally average, normal guy. I just spent a week with him in Miami, and I can promise you all the degenerate activities that you guys do with your friends on the weekends, he does the same thing. And so with that, we're going to talk about how he gets clients, how he retains clients, how he provides excellent service results, and then more importantly, the mindset that he's developed at such a young age, which has allowed him to, achieve this massive success. So to get into the podcast, his name is Zach Oldham. He can be otherwise called Zin Diesel with the amount of white fox that this guys go through. But with that, before we get into all the nuts and bolts of running the agency and whatnot, take 2-3 minutes here, share your story from, rewind 4 or 5 years ago to where, you were struggling and before you got started to everything you've built now. Unfortunately, it is YouTube, so you're going to have to flex the numbers that you've done just so they actually pay attention and actually feel like, your advice is worth their time.
I started Flax, the agency, about 5 years ago, and that came off of the back of 2 years of music marketing and trying all of the online businesses that existed. At the time, I was working with musicians and artists on retainers up to $200-$300 a month. And I had a few companies ask me to run their advertising, and offered to pay me a few $1,000s a month. So that was a giant step. And it was essentially the first proper SMMA clients I ever signed.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't realize what I was doing was considered SMMA. I wasn't actually aware of the category. But I liked services because I think done for you is a strong offer overall, and because people are willing to pay a lot of money for them. Yeah. And you can get a lot of results from the back of it. The added bonuses that they're monthly, they're not one time. I got into the agency space almost unknowingly, and over the last few years, we've scaled into a few other services as well. Started helping businesses with websites, ad creative, and have been building a YouTube team for the last couple of years too. So this year we're launching lots more services. We're excited for that, we're on our way to 8 figures at the moment. But our top clients are paying us $20 to $30K a month.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually a good lead in, because the first question I had for you is, for some people out there, they think $20,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
They don't even believe that $20,000 a month is possible. They think that they see people like you and I, and, they live this life, or they drive these cars, or they're this age, and they see our Stripe accounts, whatever the number is. They just think it's fake. They don't believe it, because really they just don't see how that is possible.
Right.
If you were to sit down with yourself from, 4 or 5 years ago, and maybe at the time you thought $20,000 a month was a lot of money too, what would you say to them to help break those beliefs that $20,000 a month, A, is possible, and then B, isn't even that much money?
I think looking at, you can see all of the financials of public companies. So you can actually go and check out how much money that they're making. And when they show you their reports, because they're making so much money, it will say $400 on it. But it's because it's in millions, because there's so many zeros that it takes up all of the space on the profit and loss statement. So going and checking out all of these giant companies that you see all the time shows you the scale of what's possible. And if you do the math on a company like Apple, I think they do something like $30 million per day in revenue, which to us sounds impossible, right? So I think going and just first of all understanding what is possible and seeing how much money exists in the first place is it's helpful, and then going and looking around you as well. Like your average apartment building that you drive past is millions of dollars, millions of dollars. Each apartment within it might be $1 million itself. So I think lots of the time you need to see something to believe it. But you can actually see the stuff around you if you're aware of it and you pay attention to it. Top restaurants can make multiple six figures a month, and even your local sushi joint is probably doing 20 to 30K a month at least.
No, for sure. So another thing too that I saw right away in you, and I gained a lot of respect for it too, your fearlessness and your confidence to spend money without any guarantees that you make it back or before you make it back. And I want to dive into where you develop that, because I know that there's a lot of people that I speak to and a lot of people, that are probably watching this video that they're scared to spend money in case they don't make it back. They're scared to spend money before they make it back. They want to, go out there and, do everything that they can for free to make money first and then only reinvest. They're scared to go in the hole to move forward. So how did you adopt that mindset where, you'll willingly take the risk, spend the money, even if you might not make it back?
I think some of it, like you scale up, right?
Of course.
So lots of the small investments you make in the beginning are smaller. But I'm trying to think of some good analogies. One is the stock market. If you put money into the stock market, it's not double overnight. Like it takes usually 7 years to double. And lots of the actions that you do on a daily basis are things that pay off later down the line. And as you go, you get confirmation bias. You see these things. You see these things becoming real. But like just for an example, there's lots of people that I've spoken to over the years. I might have even done a sales call with them, and then they convert 2 years later, or they come back, or they come and work on the team, or something along those lines. Terrell and I we first spoke like 6 months before we started working together, maybe. June. And then started January. I think on a daily basis, there's lots of things that you do. There's lots of people that you meet. There's lots of things that you try that may not work, but all of it over time compounds. And it's easy to look back on and see it compounding, but especially when you're starting out, it's hard to understand how that works. And you have to remove the desire for short-term gratification on everything. There's lots of things that you do in life. Like our entire childhoods were, we weren't getting ROI on things that we were doing or learning, but they were building habits within us that or allowing us to question the world and look at the world in certain ways that then made this easy. And it's the same when you're going through high school, you're going through university, and you take classes that compound on each other. Like every year, math gets harder, but you can't skip to calculus. You got to start with your basic fractions. And as you build that understanding, it compounds. And it's the same kind of thing. Like when you're writing an assignment, it's a daily task that compounds into something over time. But you have to understand that everything is a learning experience, and not everything is about getting money in the door that day. And that applies to us with service delivery as well. Lots of the stuff that we do with clients is long-term relationship building. There are opportunities for us to develop things, and even in some cases do free things for clients, because it's an opportunity for us to turn that into part of our service in the future.
So we've covered the first base here of like, how do we, bend that reality in our mind to actually understand that we can go out there and make $20,000. I almost wish that I could give my audience a day with us, just so they could see that we are just totally normal people, that just see the world a little bit differently. So now that we've kind of gone through that, I know that you've built and probably made the majority of your money and whatnot through cold, outbound sales. Break that down.
When I was in high school, I would sell Coca-Cola to people, and the amount of Coke and chips that we sold that my friend and I sold to people was based on the amount of people that we asked if they wanted some snacks, essentially. So we would spend our lunch breaks doing that. And the same applies with like messaging people and cold email. typically it is a volume game. Like if I send 5 emails every single day, I won't see any really tangible result.
Yeah.
But we send a lot of emails to start off with. Like we spend a decent amount of time setting up emails so that we can send them, and then working on strategy. So working on the way that we're contacting businesses and the things that we're saying to people through our understanding of their problems to get their attention and get them on a meeting with our sales team.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's 2 things that's happening at any given time. We're setting up more email accounts so we can increase volume, and we're working on our current metrics, so the current percentage of people that are responding and booking meetings with us, to constantly improve those.
Sweet. So I know you had, I believe it was maybe today and yesterday, or if not tomorrow, the next day, 15 sales calls booked through cold email alone.
Yeah, though that's just for my own calendar. We have a team taking calls as well.
How many total, roughly?
Probably 30 over that 24-hour period.
What's the strategy that you use to, fill calendars like that?
We have a couple of team members that help with responding to messages.
Yeah.
Because we get a lot of email responses coming in. One of the things that we do is I spent a lot of time initially with our SDRs, the people that respond, actually educating them on the service and the pain points that the customers have.
Yeah.
Also spending time with them, helping them understand how our customers think, and like what catches their attention and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And that was really, really helpful for us booking a lot of meetings, because it allows them to talk with them at a high level and have conversations over time. I think most people's like, they'll hire a VA to like do response handling or something, and you just feel that the person is not an expert in what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And our SDRs are not necessarily experts. They're not the service delivery team, but they have a very good understanding of how the service functions and what the steps involved are, as well as pricing and all of the other information they need. So that's been super, super helpful. And yeah, over time, we've just gotten good at understanding what people are looking for, and not wasting their time in cold messaging. Most people send paragraphs or essays, and most of the time we send two to 3 sentence emails, just referencing like 2 pain points that they clearly have with their business.
That's amazing. So you use cold outbound, cold email to get, the meetings and whatnot. And then obviously on the sales call, they become clients. One of the things that I know a lot of people that are earlier in their stage of the SMMA agency journey is they're almost worried to sign clients. They're almost worried to close clients because they don't know if they're going to be able to fill on the guarantee.
Yeah.
They don't know that if they say, hey, I'll guarantee you X, Y, Z, they'll be able to deliver that.
Yeah.
And then they kind of operate out of fear. And it's just this kind of like negative downward spiral. What's your take on that? Like, how would you go about overcoming that? Or what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's just made a guarantee to somebody and worried that they won't be able to meet it?
Yeah. If you never go for a run, you don't know what your heart rate is. It's the same thing with service delivery. If you never go and do it, for somebody, it's hard to figure out what your average results are. It's also hard to figure out without going on a run where your weaknesses may lie. If there's a muscle that you need to train, or if you just need to go on some more runs. It's definitely easier to work on services that you already have a bit of background or knowledge about. Like if you've done a landscaping job, it's easier to work with landscaping businesses
100%.
because you speak the language. So I think that is definitely something that should be done by most people, is not just picking some random service because someone's telling them to do it, but find services that they're interested in, or like categories that they're already interested in, because it makes service delivery more enjoyable. And then the other thing is just, I really don't know, like you just study your service. Like you need to do the research into what your service actually is to make sure that you understand all of the functions of it. And you can even do dry runs of your service, like run it on yourself.
Yeah.
I
think there's another thing to this too, because I think what I see a lot of, with people in the agency space is like, they think that their business matters. Like they're worried about, well, what about my business? I don't know if my business, motherfucker, it's you.
Yeah, okay.
In the beginning, it's you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not your business.
Yeah.
You don't have a fucking business.
Sure. Yeah.
You're a kid on the internet who watched a video.
At the beginning, you're also a freelancer.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're a freelancer. And I think, a lot of it is like, if you go to somebody, I'll guarantee you X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not confident in that. It's not that you're not confident in the business. It's not that you're not confident in the service delivery.
Yeah.
So they're not confident in themselves.
Right. And I understand the lack of confidence if you're not exactly sure what your service is.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to plan it out and actually have it very clear cut. And then it's also important to be honest with people as well. A mistake that lots of people make when they're first trying to sign clients is pretending that they've done it for 100 people.
Yeah.
And that's felt by a prospect.
Yeah.
If somebody comes to me and tells me that they've, produced 400 YouTube videos, I can get a pretty good understanding of whether they have or not from a conversation with them.
Yeah.
So if someone's trying to tell me that they've generated hundreds of millions of dollars for a business, it's also easy to see through.
Yeah.
And I would never hire somebody that lies about their previous experience with me. I'd much rather we just hired someone onto the team. And the first thing he said to me is, I don't have exact experience with this. Like, I'm not even sure what to expect. And I was like, that's awesome. You've got all of this great other experience and we want to give you a shot.
Yeah.
But if he had told me, oh yeah, I've done this 17 times. And then I talked with the team after his first 3 days of working with them, he wouldn't have a long-term position with us.
Of course.
And it's the same with agencies that we've worked with previously that I've hired myself, that I've spent up to $10,000 a month on.
Yeah.
I don't care necessarily about like every detail of your experience versus what you're offering, what you say you can provide, and whether you're going to be an authentic, fun person to work with.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And so I guess my follow-up to that is like, I know for me, example, and, I've seen you do this a lot and succeed with it. Like the most recent agency that I built, I remember we signed our first client and I called up my COO and I was like, we have 24 hours to figure out service delivery.
Yeah.
And my dumbass, we were in the mortgage niche. My dumbass didn't even know what a loan application was.
Yeah.
So in 24 hours, I first figured out what a loan application was.
Yeah.
And then second of all, how do you get them through Facebook ads for mortgage offers? Right. But at the time, it never occurred to me that I don't know if we'll be able to get client results because I trusted myself.
You did. And to be fair, you also had experience providing product to people.
Yeah.
So, and that's why you can confidently sell someone and then figure it out.
Yeah.
But some people, it might be worth doing that research before they get on the call. So I think a good strategy is figure out how to book meetings. And then as you start booking meetings, start doing the research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And so that's what I wanted to lead into is just like, how would you go about, building that confidence in yourself that you will be able to figure it out?
Yeah. Research is helpful. And then starting with price points that you're comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable with, like doing research on your niche, doing research on the people that you're talking to.
Yeah.
Never is unhelpful. I used to spend a lot of time. I don't research the prospects I talk to now because I'm busy and I have a decent understanding of what their pain points are going to be. But I used to spend a lot of time, but ahead of every call, like an hour, just looking into the person that I was about to talk to, looking at everything they've done, looking at their websites, literally everything. And that helped me get an idea of who I was about to hop on the phone with as well. And made me more confident and comfortable in those calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you fuck it up.
Yeah.
Now your client's pissed.
There's a couple things you can do. You can always give a refund, right? If you figured out how to get a client, you can get another one.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with refunding someone if something doesn't go to plan. We still have to process refunds once every 2 to 3 months. Like something gets fucked up and client's not 100% happy, and we'll voluntarily refund them because we want them to stick around for a long time. So that happens occasionally. And I mean, if something goes wrong, you want to focus on 2 to 3 things. There's the solution primarily. Like most people are solutions oriented. If a business owner is paying you money, they're probably already in that mindset of looking for a solution to something. So if you jump onto a call with them or in your messages back to them, you're focusing on the details of your mistake, nobody is going to really want to listen to you or want to keep working with you. You need to focus on what the future looks like.
Yeah.
So that's a really crucial element. Another part is not trying to argue or pass blame. Like mistakes happen. We have this happen as well, where the client is the person that made the mistake or it's another team member. Focusing on the mistake is never the solution. Like same with the first point, but just arguing about the mistake or talking about nuances of it are not important in that situation. So focus on solutions. Don't focus on arguments or the mistake itself. And then the other thing is back up your solutions with data. So if you're saying, hey, I'm going to go and do this, use 2 examples of how it's been applied, whether it's with your clients or not. It could be with another brand or another company. That is a really helpful way just to remind somebody of what's possible.
Yeah. Case study.
Yeah. Show case studies.
Yeah.
Like not every case study has to be our own. There are things that we do that we take inspiration from other agencies or other companies.
Yeah.
And we approach a client, we approach a business, and we say, hey, we'd like to try this out with you guys. We'd like to test out the strategy or this funnel, or even this slightly different variation of our service with you as well.
How many people do you have in your team?
20, I don't know the exact number. I think it's 28, but we can verify it with a little pop-up on screen.
What's the rough makeup of these 29 to 30 people?
There's 3 people on a software development team. There's 5, soon to be 8 people on a sales team. There's most of it service delivery. So there's, I think, about 10 people on our advertising marketing service delivery team, for everyone from media buyers to website to creative people, graphic designer, video editors. On our YouTube team, we've got 4 video editors, a scripter, head of strategy, and an operations person that helps with Zapier. And like automations. I think that's the most of the makeup of the team. Mr. Terrell running the solo department right now of videography. not for much longer. Maybe later this year we'll have a bigger video team.
So how do you go about building this team, motivating this team, increasing the buy-in? Because I know that's a big thing that people struggle with.
Yeah.
I think one of the most underlooked skills, but on the flip, most valuable skills once you do acquire is leadership.
Right. Yeah.
Right. In an extreme sense, you could probably make the argument that if you just learned leadership, you could build any company with no other skills.
Yeah. There's people that do that as well, that don't really have much technical understanding.
You don't know how to close, you don't know how to sell, you don't know how to set appointments, you don't know how to service delivery, but you're a really good leader, you know how to build a team.
It's great to have that skill. It's helpful to have the others, but you're right, you could just have leadership and nothing else. If you're good at, like aligning people and giving them a vision, then you could 100% run a company like that.
What are the most important things that you learned? Maybe the 3 most important things that you've learned from, being that kid that was, I remember you telling me the story, selling somebody for $50 over IGDMs on Instagram. Yeah. Or, like a music thing, to now. What are the 3 most important things that you learned about leadership or mistakes that you made that has developed you to, be able to lead a team like you are now at 21?
You get in your own way a lot. Like lots of the time I get in my own way and my team's way as well. Yeah. So I've learned over the years to step back more, let people do what they're there for. Like I think especially as you like start hiring people, you want to know what they're doing all the time, and that's just unnecessary. The whole point of you partnering up with them and building a team is so that they can focus on what they're good at and you can focus on what you're good at. So that is typically called micromanaging, and it's not recommended if you want to be productive as a company. The second thing I think is listening to people's needs and wants, like just like customers, team members are people and have goals as well. I honestly see like our team as almost customers of the business too. Yeah. Like just because we're paying them doesn't mean that we're not servicing them at the same time. Yeah. So it's important that companies are like treat the company almost as the product to the team. We're getting better at is trying to make a better offer to people on our team. So make the company more fun to work at. We already have like very loose guidelines. We're not very corporate. Our major expectations for people on the team are generate ROI, do a good job, and communicate. And apart from that, you can work with whoever you want on your teams. You can work whenever you want. You can work wherever you want. We're a remote company as well. Yeah. So there's lots of like great benefits of it. It's still not perfect at everything, of course. The last thing though is treat the team as partners. Like everyone is a partner in the business, and I especially when starting, I made this mistake as well. But lots of people, I think, treat their team members as like just there to get something done. Yeah. And I think they forget the whole part that you guys are building a company together. Yeah. So I think losing the ego a bit and treating everyone as equals is super important, because you really are. Yeah. There's nothing stopping them from going and starting their own company or doing exactly what you are doing. So if it's not a partnership, it's possible they will.
Yeah. I got one last question for you. It's a 2-part question. And I know we talked about a lot of this in Miami. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I think this entire group sees a lot is your ability to throw the Amex down with confidence. Okay. Spend money with confidence. Okay. And also detach from money.
Yeah.
where did that come from? How can somebody develop that same relationship with money?
Well, 95% of the money that we make as a company is being invested at the company in some way, and about 5% of it is on like experiential stuff.
Yeah.
And over time, I've just found great ROI from that from a personal level and a social level as well.
Yeah.
I personally enjoy going to dinner. I probably grab dinner at least 3 times a week at a local restaurant or something. Yeah. And I just really like that end part of my day. It's something I always wanted to do. First time I made $50 online, the first thing I did was take my friends to dinner.
Yeah.
We got like fries or something and a burger. But it was, I love that. Like I love like the social element of that side of spending money. So for things outside of the company, that's what I spend money on. But to answer your question about spending money freely, I think it's just
because I think I asked the question a little bit wrong. I made the example of you, but really I mean more of it. Like I know that, you know, even though people might the cart whatever, it's like from a holistic perspective, what people don't understand is you're still extremely financially responsible.
Right.
So my question is like, how do you detach from money? Earlier Zach. Younger Zach, who aren't in your position.
Yeah. I think applying the framework and thought process of what happens when you die was helpful for me. Like I mapped it all out. I mapped it all out, and I was like, okay,
I die, I go.
If I keep making this, like if I keep growing the revenue by this amount, and we have this much profit, and this goes into the stock market, like what happens over the next 50 years? And I had like a life calculator and stuff based on the average age and reversed engineered it all. And then I was looking at it and I was like, well, what do I do with this? Because if I'm like every year that goes by, I'm just hoping to get a slightly better return and put more money into stocks or something like, or a bank account. What am I going to do with all of this money? Like what actual use does it have to me?
Yeah. And
I have like big dreams for the future, and there's lots of things that I want to build and create. And as I was looking at this, I was like, this is stupid. Like, I'm better off just spending this money on the things that I want to build today, because I don't even know if tomorrow will come. Like I hope that I'm still alive tomorrow, but it's not a guarantee. So I'd much rather do the stuff that I can today and invest in the things that I want to be building today. Worry about money in the future. We learn how to create a company. We learn how to solve people's problems, and that part is never going to go away.
Yeah.
Like myself and everyone I work with knows how to do that. So that is not a problem for us anymore. And it's helpful to solve that problem for yourself because it gives you that confidence. But now looking towards the future, the goal is just to continue learning as much as possible. And we're much better off spending all of the money that or as much of the money within reason that we have access to on things that help us learn and build new parts of the company than hoard it somewhere and not experience that growth. And it's the only reason why like doing shit like starting a YouTube team didn't make sense for us 2 years ago. It was much more logical to keep niching down and keep scaling up our service, but it's an element of the future that is super important, content and being able to provide that for businesses.
Yeah.
And there's also a huge opportunity with all of these YouTubers that don't have e-commerce brands backing them. So I knew that there was a way that we could combine e-commerce and YouTube. I didn't know what it looked like, but I was like, well, fuck, let's start building this now and start figuring it out as we go. And that is the part of the confirmation bias that I've mentioned. It's like, over time, seeing these things stack and seeing these things generate ROI has given me a lot of confidence to trust my gut on the things that I'm spending with as well.
Any last words that you would say to the Zach before you got started in this?
I mean, I think I understood the concept of enjoying the process early. I don't think I embodied it enough at the beginning. So I don't think I actually like truly learned to enjoy the process until a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very attached almost to like that short term, what's happening this month, I got to hit this revenue goal, or I got to make this happen. And then recently I feel very disconnected from it all. I feel like very satisfied and comfortable with kind of making decisions and taking action on things that don't see any benefit for a week, a month, sometimes years on end.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoying the process and detaching from it a little more. And then the other thing that I found that's like a secret sauce is every goal that you set, you hit. And lots of the time I think when I was starting, at least I would set these short-term goals. I'd be focused on 3 months from now or 12 months from now. And I found with most of the goals that I was setting, lots of them were monetary, but with most of the goals that I was setting, I would hit them. Lots of the time, not within the time frame that I was expecting, but I would reach it.
Yeah.
And I get to a point where, like, for instance, $100,000 a month as a goal, I'd get to the point where I'd reach it and then I'd go, well, what next? Or new goal, right? I've got this big picture in my mind, this thing that I want to work towards. Okay, well, new goal. And I realized that in doing that, I was almost building the system and building habits and training myself in such a way to hit that goal. So 100K a month as an example, I was like, I put all my focus towards it, and then I'd step back for a second. I'd look at the company. I'd be like, well, this company is only set up to handle $100,000. Yeah. I haven't built systems or created things in such a way that allow me to get to $1 million a month now. So I've almost got to fucking tear everything apart and build it. And after doing that, I realized, and I was like, oh shit, why don't I just need to set much bigger goals. Yeah. And I realized this before 100K a month, but I'll use that as an example. I was just like, shit, I just need to set much bigger goals. Yeah. Because I'm guaranteed to hit them. So I'd much rather work on a longer time frame, a 5-10 year time frame.
Yeah. Awesome. And then one last thing here, what you would say to the 60, 70-year-old Zach?
Oh man, I hope he fucking achieves everything.
Still alive.
I hope he's still alive, but I hope I hope he achieved everything that I want to achieve today. I hope that I don't, fall off this path for any reason, because it's been the most incredible experience of my life, and I'm very grateful and blessed to be able to do what I do every day.
It's awesome. Well, appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.